The mind is a room. Sometimes it is a quiet space filled with light and air. Thoughts come and go like gentle breezes, and you can see each one clearly as it passes. Other times, the room is filled with smoke, thick, choking, and restless. You can barely see what's in front of you. Decisions feel impossible. Every thought collides with another, and clarity is nowhere to be found. For centuries, people have sought ways to clear the smoke from this mental room. We invent systems, take courses, try new habits. But the problem is older than any modern solution. The ancients, philosophers, sages, and teachers from many lands understood the nature of the mind in ways that still speak to us. They didn't have our technology, but they had something else: time-tested wisdom about how to live, think, and see clearly. One of the first keys to mental clarity comes from the Stoics of ancient Rome and Greece. They understood that our minds are often clouded because we try to control what we cannot. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that people would lie, cheat, be selfish, or act foolishly, and that this was simply human nature. Expecting otherwise was a recipe for constant frustration. And frustration is mental fog. When you accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be, you free your mind from the endless fight against what's beyond your control. The Stoics taught, focus only on your own thoughts, your own actions, your own choices. Everything else is noise. In the East, the Buddha taught a similar lesson, but in a different language. He spoke of the mind as a lake. When it is agitated by wind, the surface ripples, and you cannot see the reflection of the moon. But when the water is still, everything becomes clear. Clarity, in this sense, comes not from forcing your mind to think harder, but from letting it settle. Meditation was their tool for this, not necessarily sitting cross-legged in silence for hours, but learning to watch thoughts without chasing them. A thought comes, you see it, you let it go. Another comes, you see it, you let it go. Soon, the lake grows still, and what is true becomes visible. The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu offered another key. He warned against filling the mind with too much, too many desires, too many goals, too many comparisons. To the mind that is still, he said, the whole universe surrenders. The more you try to hold in your mind at once, the more cluttered it becomes. Lao Tzu's path to clarity was not to add more, but to remove. To live simply, to value stillness, and to act with intention rather than compulsion. When you stop chasing every impulse, you find space in which clarity can appear. From India's Bhagavad Gita comes yet another ancient insight: clarity is the child of purpose. Arjuna, the warrior prince, stands on the battlefield consumed by doubt. His mind is clouded by conflicting duties, fear of loss, and the weight of responsibility. The god Krishna tells him your confusion comes because you have forgotten your dharma, your highest purpose. When you know why you are here and what you must do, decisions become lighter. The fog lifts. Without purpose, every choice feels heavy, uncertain. With purpose, even difficult paths become straight. Ancient Egypt offers us a quieter voice in this conversation. In the temples, scribes carved proverbs about the inner life. One such teaching said, "A man is judged by his silence and his words." Mental clarity, they believed, comes partly from restraint, knowing when to speak and when to listen. The more we speak without thought, the more tangled our minds become. Words are not only outward expressions, they shape the mind within. If you guard your words, you guard your clarity. Across these cultures, one truth repeats: the mind becomes clear when it is disciplined, when it is still, when it is guided by purpose, and when it is free from unnecessary burdens. But knowing this is not enough. The ancients didn't just tell us what mental clarity was. They gave us ways to practice it. One of the simplest, yet most profound, practices is reflection. The Stoics ended each day by reviewing their actions. Where did I act with virtue? Where did I fail? What can I do better tomorrow? This was not self-punishment. It was mental housekeeping. clearing out the debris of the day so it wouldn't pile up into tomorrow. In the same way, Buddhist monks practiced daily mindfulness, bringing full attention to even the smallest tasks. Washing a bowl, walking to the temple, eating a meal, each was done with presence, which kept the mind from drifting into chaos. Another practice, common to both East and West, was detachment from the endless pull of desire. The more you want, the more your mind runs in circles, trying to get it. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, sleeping on the floor, wearing rough clothes, fasting, to remind themselves that they could be content with little. In India, yogis renounced excess possessions not because poverty was holy, but because simplicity was freeing. Mental clarity often begins in the external world. When your environment is uncluttered, your mind follows. But there is a deeper layer to all of this. The ancients knew that clarity is not simply the absence of confusion, it is the presence of wisdom. You cannot simply empty your mind and expect clarity to appear. You must fill it, slowly and intentionally, with the right ideas. That's why so many ancient traditions placed great value on studying timeless truths, reading deeply, learning from those who came before. When your mind is stocked with principles rather than impulses, it can navigate life without being tossed by every wave. Take, for example, the teachings of Confucius. He emphasized the importance of living in harmony with virtue, honesty, respect, humility, duty. To him, mental clarity came from moral clarity. If you knew what was right, you could think clearly about what to do. Many of our mental storms are not caused by complexity, but by the friction between what we know is right and what we are tempted to do. Confucius would say resolve that inner conflict and the mind will calm. Of course, these are ideals. In the real world, our days are noisy, our responsibilities heavy. Even the ancients lived in busy marketplaces, fought wars, faced betrayals, and suffered loss. Mental clarity was not given to them. It was cultivated. They treated it like a garden. It had to be tended daily, protected from weeds, nourished with the right food. Neglect it, and it would vanish. So how do we bring these ancient keys into our modern lives? We start with small acts. Begin the morning without rushing to your phone. Give yourself a few minutes of stillness before the world comes knocking. Set aside time each day to write, not for anyone else, but to pour your thoughts onto paper so they do not crowd your mind. At the end of the day, review your actions, not to judge yourself harshly, but to sweep the floor of your mental room. Reduce what you can. Not every invitation must be accepted. Not every opinion must be formed. Not every battle must be fought. Simplicity is a form of wisdom, and wisdom is the foundation of clarity. As Lao Tzu might say, stop adding and see what remains. Remember your purpose. Write it down. Keep it in front of you. When you know what matters most, you can let go of what doesn't. And every time you let go of something unimportant, your mind becomes lighter, freer. Practice stillness, even in motion. When walking, walk. When eating, eat. When speaking, speak. And when you are silent, be fully silent. This single-minded attention turns ordinary moments into exercises in clarity. And perhaps most importantly, accept what is beyond your control. The wind will blow across the surface of your lake. The marketplace will be loud. People will behave badly. If your clarity depends on the world being perfect, you will never have it. If it depends only on your own discipline, you can have it anywhere. The ancients understood that a clear mind is not a gift from life. It is a skill of living. You do not wait for the smoke to clear on its own. You open the windows, you let in fresh air, you tend the fire so it does not consume the room. Each day, you choose what enters and what leaves your mind. Each day, you practice the small disciplines that keep the water still. Over time, the smoke lifts. The room fills with light. You see what is before you without distortion. And you realize that mental clarity is not a rare treasure to be found far away. It is something you can build patiently with the oldest tools in human history: purpose, stillness, simplicity, reflection, and acceptance. These are the ancient keys. They are as true now as they were thousands of years ago, and they have been in your hands all along.